Thank you for the invitation to be here today. I know that it's been billed as kind of an update on what's happened at the port over the last year, but I'm going to expand it a little bit because I find it very hard to contain a discussion on what's happening at the port to a single year. It's kind of like Charles Dickens's classic, trying to read one chapter in the middle of the story and expecting everybody to understand, what the beginning and ending is all about. So I'd just like to kind of veer from just simply talking about the last year a little bit and expand it a little bit. Let me start with we've had a little bit of a communications program, and you may have seen it in the newspaper. We've had these ads running. Trade builds strong communities, and trade, and really trade is port activity, because ports is all about moving Canadian trade through this particular gateway. The port activity is building this community and communities all along the Northern Corridor into very strong and vibrant economies. We refer to that as the gateway economy, and that theme is going to kind of meld its way through my presentation today as I go through. Ports, and I'm going to run quite rapidly because I got quite a stack of slides that I want to share with you today. And so excuse me if I'm rushing things a little bit and just breezing over the surface. But I do want to cover a fair bit of information today. Ports around the world measure their size and importance by how much tonnage flows through the facility. Through their gateways, and by all measures, Prince Rupert has done a fantastic job. Over the last since 2013, going back to the last 7 years, we've actually increased like 375% in the volume of traffic. Now we've tapered off a little bit, and the last couple of years is going to see a bit of a decline, and I'll come back to that shortly. Probably more significantly, and I think more importantly to this audience, is the net income of the Port Authority. Wouldn't want to put a percentage to that. There's too many zeros to it. And really, in the last 5 years, last year we had a record year of $26.3 million in net income or profits. So why is that important to this community? Well, unlike most other commercial entities who have shareholders and have owners that draw on that profit, we do not have shareholders or owners. And so all the money that is made by the Port Authority is reinvested into this community in one form or fashion. Now, yes, there is some leakage, and we hire consultants from places outside of this community, and we do send a tax check to the federal government every year. But other than that, when you see high profits at the port, one should take comfort in that is going to be reinvested back into this community. And it's reinvested in infrastructure or services and activities that will take place. This chart shows the level of capital investment that has taken place just from the Port Authority alone, not any of its terminal operators or other investors outside of the port. And over the last 2 years, over $100 million, the Port Authority has invested over $100 million in capital works in this community. And although it hasn't been approved, I can tell you that over the next 2 to 3 years, we're going to be spending at least $100 million more on other capital activity in this community. This slide represents the investment that the port is making on non-port related projects, and this is our community investment fund. We are setting aside a certain portion of our profits every year, and most people in this room are familiar with the community investment fund. We are investing in legacy community projects, and since its inception 6 years ago, a total of $2.5 million has been set aside to invest in community projects that hopefully will add to the vibrancy and the health of this community and make Prince Rupert more attractive than Portland, Oregon, for people to come and visit and live in. Job creation. The gateway economy has done a fabulous job of creating jobs in this community and right across northern BC. In the last 5 years, the number of direct jobs related to moving goods through this gateway has doubled to 3,000 direct jobs. And when you include indirect jobs, there's over 5,000 women and men employed in moving goods to and from this port and through this port. Fabulous growth. And they're getting paid well. And the average salary of a gateway employee is $64,000 a year, and that's up 18% over the last 5 years. So once again, this is how the community the communities are being built stronger as a result of the type of gateway economy and trade economy that is being generated by what we have here in Prince Rupert. Now, just to emphasize how significant that is for a community like Prince Rupert, this chart compares us to other ports, and you may not be able to see it, but the percentage of, and it's on the left-hand side, the percentage of the employment population in Prince Rupert that is working directly on port activities is 12.5%. So 12.5%, 1 in 8 people in this community are employed in the trade or the gateway, the port economy. Compare that to Vancouver, where only 1.5% of the employee population is employed in ports. And in Los Angeles, it's 0.75%. So one can really look at this particular community and say it truly is a port gateway type of economy. How does this all translate into municipal taxation? Well, last year and every year, but last year nearly $7 million was paid by the entire port community to the municipalities of Prince Rupert and Port Edward. And as the graph shows, that has continually grown over the last, since 2005. But to put it into perspective, and once again compare ourselves to everyone else, here in Prince Rupert, 32% of the revenue base of this municipality comes from the port industry taxpayers. And province-wide, if you look at the heavy industrial base, on a province-wide basis, heavy industry really, on average, contributes only 4% to the average municipality. So there's a huge advantage of having a port industry here in this municipality. And just by comparison to some of our communities in and around here, Terrace, 2% of its municipal revenues come from heavy industry. Prince George is 12%, Smithers is 10%, and yes, Kitimat is on the other end of the spectrum with 60% of its municipal revenue comes from the heavy industry. So now let me just kind of turn now to kind of what's been happening in the port over the last year. And start with Mark's gone. Oh, there you are. Okay. Fairview Terminal, and Mark has said it. Another phenomenal year. We're at the end of October. The first 10 months of this year, we already collectively have exceeded the volume of containers that moved through Fairview Terminal all of last year. And by the way, last year, Fairview Terminal was the fastest growing container port in all of North America. So we are up 31% compared to last year on a year-to-date basis, and we still have 2 months to go. Other things that are happening is Mar Terminals has been sold to DP World, and I really Mark is not going to be with us for very long, and I just wanted to take this opportunity to thank Mark. He has been a force down there and has ensured that the type of volume that we are experiencing on the terminal has successfully flowed through that facility. So thank you very much, Mark, and we are really going to miss you. But this kind of volume is going to increase. Back in September, in fact, the largest and the second largest container shipping lines in the world by market share and size. Started what we refer to as the M2 service through Prince Rupert and Maersk and MSC. As I say, they're the first and second largest shipping lines in the world. They started a service through here. So things are looking very, very positively. And of course, construction has started on the northern expansion. And that $200+ million expansion will take that facility to a capacity of well over 1.3, 1.4 million containers a year. And so with the kind of activities on there now, we'll continue to grow and build over the years. And it should be fully open and operational by 2017, that expansion. Prince Rupert Grain is going to have another fantastic year. If you look at the numbers here, it says that 5.9 million projected for the remainder of this year, but down 8%. And it doesn't sound that good, but that's down 8% from 2014, which was an all-time record of over 6 million tons. So the fact that it's down slightly from the record year, really, we still need to applaud everybody out at Prince Rupert Grain. They're doing a fantastic job, and this will probably end up being the second best year on record for Prince Rupert Grain. Westview Terminal, now nearly 2 years that it's been up and running. We expect that facility will ship about 800,000 tons through the facility, which is up 54% from the previous year, so huge growth. When that facility was first brought on side, there was a lot of anxiety about it, and I kind of want to point out that it's been 22 months of operation now. It has never exceeded its air quality levels. We have had issues with noise and dust, and I applaud everybody that's working hard down there to reduce that and to bring it down, and I think that the trend lines are in the right direction. In fact, I know they're in the right direction, and everybody's working hard to ensure that that facility is able to meld well in the location that it currently is. And by the way, actually, just to go back to there, one of the there was a world record established at the Pinnacle Pellet Facility back in, I think it was June. The vessel, the Popeye S, loaded 60,000 tons of wood pellets, which was a world record. There's never been another vessel with more wood pellets in a single vessel. And once again, it was the reason why that facility was located where it's located, so that large vessels could load there and take the economies of scale and make that facility economical. Another, I guess, milestone for 2015 was the introduction of our project cargo facility on Ridley Island, and the port invested over $10 million to bring that facility in place to respond to the demands, the opportunity of moving large project cargo modules to construction sites in northern British Columbia and northern Alberta, and that's up and running now. The cruise industry continues to respond positively to the cruise traffic. The numbers aren't large. They haven't grown, but what has grown is the number of cruise passengers that are participating in the shore excursion activity, which is really what drives the local economy here. The capture rate, which means the percentage of cruise passengers that come in and are drawn into the local shore excursions, was at 71%. In other words, 71% of all passengers that came into Prince Rupert on a cruise ship went on a local shore excursion. That was up 18% from the previous year, which means that although the overall numbers aren't growing year over year, the number of passengers that are participating on the real economic activity in this community are growing annually. And also, what is really great about the cruise industry is the collaborative effort that's taking place in this community with the cruise industry working group that incorporates a lot of the tourist-minded industries and the port working together to come up with strategies to grow this particular industry sector. The coal terminal, this is the area that I said earlier at the beginning, our total traffic levels are down. RTI is experiencing some challenges and from its really stellar years a few years back, and coal is in decline. And the reason it's in decline is this chart just kind of shows the price of coal, how it went way up and it's coming way down. And really that kind of transitions into I want to speak ever so briefly on some of the challenges and opportunities that we're facing. And kind of like the iceberg, it looks pretty on the top, but there's a lot of danger points underneath the surface that one has to be concerned about. And one of the biggest issues for us, being where we are located and being kind of focused on the Asian economies, is what's happening in China. The growth and expansion of trade in Western Canada and indeed North America has been driven by the really phenomenal growth in the economy of China. And in fact, and probably even more importantly for us, is the fact that many of the large-scale projects that are still in the planning stage were built on the basis of continued growth and expansion in China. And this chart shows how the economy in China is in decline. It's more than just flattening out, and it's starting to decline faster than a lot of people expected. And it's a big issue and a big concern. The other aspect is that the world trading patterns are changing slightly. The manufacturing heartland is moving further west into places like Vietnam. And while trade with Canada and China is in decline, trade with Vietnam is increasing in Cambodia and even moving further west into India. Now, the issue for the Port of Prince Rupert is that the economy's our advantage in accessing those markets. We are losing the benefits because it's further and further sailing time. In fact, when you get to a place like Vietnam, it's even shorter and more economical to go through the Suez Canal to the east coast of North America. So we have to be cognizant of that. Our competition in ports of down south along the west coast are looking at the phenomenal growth that we have experienced at Fairview Terminal and are trying to figure out what is their secret sauce, and they're trying to replicate it. And I can tell you that our competitive advantage is shrinking and narrowing, and we have to stay on top of things and try to continue to move ahead. One of the big risks that we have is, unlike any other container port in the west coast of North America, 100% of the containers moving through Prince Rupert are discretionary traffic, meaning they don't have to come to Prince Rupert. Places like Vancouver, Seattle, and especially LA Long Beach, a good portion of those containers go to the local market. So there will always be container ships going into those ports. But if we lose our competitive advantage, there's no reason for a container ship to come into this facility. And the reason we are growing and expanding so rapidly is because we have a competitive advantage right now. But the competition is breathing down our back. This is really the big area of risk for us. The windows of opportunity open and close on a very short time frame. On the left-hand side, you can see the potash prices and how the potash market went way up and then it declined. And this happens over a very short period of time, a matter of years. What's happening on the right-hand side graph shows you the differential between the price of gas in the United States and the price of gas in Japan. It just shows you that is what created the LNG opportunity, the large gap in the differential in the price. That gap is shrinking now, and the window is starting to close once again. And why that is such an issue for us? These kinds of windows of opportunity open and close in a matter of years, while it takes us at least a decade to plan, design, develop, get environmental approval, construct, and raise the hundreds of millions of dollars required for the infrastructure to capitalize on these types of opportunities. So what are we doing to respond to these opportunities and meet those challenges? And what the heck does a duct have to do with that? Well, a duck, or any waterfowl propels itself forward and it looks really nice and calm on the surface, but all the activity is happening below the surface. So I just want to share with you a little bit of all of the vigorous activity that's happening below the surface here. First off, we've moved forward with what we refer to as our 2020 Gateway Vision. And this is our strategy to build a export platform on Ridley and Lalou Islands. to ensure that this gateway is ready for the accommodation of in excess of 100 million tons of more traffic. And we've developed this with a strategic way of developing these individual development sites so that we can reduce congestion, we can reduce the impacts on the community and on the environment as best possible. And so that was developed in a way to create that platform. The road rail utility corridor was the foundational piece of infrastructure, and we celebrated the opening of that facility this year, and now we have that foundation for that 100 million additional tons of cargo. What that we hope with the appropriate execution of that 2020 Gateway Plan will bring more than just 100 million tons of cargo. It will bring diversification. And back in 2004, when we only had 4.7 million tons of volume moving through this gateway, nearly 90% of our cargo was just based on two commodity types, coal and grain, and that's not diversification. Through the Gateway 2020 plan, by 2024, and we believe that we'll have nearly 80 million tons of cargo moving through this facility. No single commodity will make up more than 25% of the pie, and we'll have at least 5 or 6 different types of commodity base that make up this gateway. That's diversification, and it ensures that the economy will manage the ups and downs in individual sectors. What will this growth mean? Getting back to municipal taxation, if we are successful in building the full build out of that Gateway 2020 and build all that infrastructure and bring all those pieces of infrastructure to this community, the revenue to our municipality will grow to $60 million a year. So I know that's cold comfort to Mayor Lee Brain and council now, when they are struggling to kind of pay the next bill. But the point is, it's a light at the end of the tunnel that we can all focus our collective energies toward, and to focus in on that collectively, and that will once again build a strong community. The additional traffic, we're building infrastructure to manage that extra 100 million tons of traffic, but it'll also have impacts on the water. And it's kind of what I keep on referring to as out of sight, out of mind. Everybody in the community is very conscious of what's happening with new builds, and whether it be a Fairview Terminal or the road rail utility corridor. Sometimes neglect to see what's happening in the water. If we are able to move on the entire bill of the 2020 Gateway Plan, today we have less than 500 deep sea vessel visits a year. That will grow to nearly 2,000, 5,000 deep sea vessel visits a year. So we have to prepare for that growth. And I'm going to quickly, just kind of some of the things that are happening below the surface, out of sight. We are doing studies on vessel traffic to figure out how all that traffic can grow, and not only the deep sea vessel traffic, but include the pleasure crafts and the fishing boats, how everybody can move in and out of this harbor safely. And one of the potential options is actually having designated shipping lanes, but it's only one of the options. We have put in tide and current monitors, and they're online, so it's not just the deep sea vessels that will be able to benefit from this. Pleasure crafts can now get onto our website and get real-time current and activity. We are investing hundreds of thousands of dollars every year in partnership with Coast Guard into adding to aids to navigation in this port. One of the, I think, more exciting additions is a $5 million investment that's being made on ground radar. Believe it or not, this port gateway has not had radar, and this is exciting because we'll be able to see everything that's happening in this in this gateway, or whether it be large or small or even a kayak, and we'll be able to pick it up in all types of weather conditions. And it's going to be a huge increase in the safety and security of this port gateway. We are doing water sampling continuously throughout the port. We've been doing this for a number of years throughout the harbor. We are doing air sampling and setting up more air sampling stations and air quality stations throughout the whole port community to ensure that we have the the base levels to measure and see how that changes. We are looking at carbon emissions. Every year we have done a carbon emission study to find out how much CH2 or all carbon emissions, and Jason and his team are driving this effort. We now have 3 staff members employed at the port, totally focused on environmental stewardship activities. Setting up noise monitoring stations and continuing to, and we're going to be setting one up in Port Edward to make sure that as the port grows that we can not only monitor but manage the additional noise nuisances that will be created, and work with the community to try to ensure that it isn't a nuisance. We have partnered with many of the port users to do a shoreline habitat evaluation of the entire harbor and up the Skeena River, and that's been a great benefit to some of our proponents. Invasive species monitoring to kind of the canary, to make sure that if there's any invasive species coming into this harbor, we are aware of it immediately, and that's ongoing in partnership with the local community college. We are tracking and marine mammal activity in the harbor, and making sure that we can use that information to feed into our vessel traffic studies to ensure that the marine mammal activity in this harbor is protected. So I'm trying to stick to my time period here, and let me just kind of wind this down by talking about the PNW LNG facility, because that's been kind of front and center in the media for the last little while. And just make a couple comments. First off, the Port Authority is very focused and focused on protecting the fish habitat, and we fully understand and appreciate the importance of the Flora Bank area. As in all projects, we recognize the importance of the marine environment and in the planning and development of that facility. So that's number one. Everybody, and I think I can speak for every organization that is involved in this particular project. Everybody is aware of the importance of the Flora Bank fish habitat area and wants to protect that completely. Secondly, this project hasn't been approved. Right now, PNW has the ability to investigate the potential of developing the facility, and they have followed a very rigorous environmental assessment program, and they are in consultation with agencies and First Nation groups, and have been, and they are responding to a very rigorous evaluation process, and they have been changing and adapting their design to respond to issues that have arisen during this environmental review process. And to also make it clear that the current design does not touch the Flora Bank. In fact, where the current berthing facility will be potentially located is at least 200 meters from the edge of the Flora Bank. So there is no decision has been made. They are responding to this assessment process, and they will have to meet the requirements through scientific evaluation and assessment of all environmental regulations and standards, and meet all provincial and federal laws before there will be any decision made. And if they're not able to meet those strict laws and regulations, they will not get permitted. And what we as a community have to do is wait that process through. I guess the only other comment I'll make is that the amount of scientific rigor that is going into evaluating this process is is unmatched. The type of modeling and work that is taking place to demonstrate that this project will not impact the fisheries resource on the Fore Bank has never been done before in the sense of the rigor that has been followed on this project. So the SIA process is winding its way to a kind of conclusion of the evaluation stage. I know that some of that scientific data that PNW has completed, the 3D modeling and the potential impact of that modeling was used to say what would be the impact on the Fore Bank, is now posted on SIA's website. It's public information. As they have peeled down the layers and gone deeper and deeper into more scientific analysis, the feedback is that they're recognizing that it will have, they're proving that they'll have less and less impact on any of the fisheries resource on the Fore Bank. So with that, let me just conclude by saying that the challenge that we as a Port Authority there's two challenges that we continually face. One challenge, as I kind of alluded to earlier, is that on the one hand, these windows of opportunity open and close in years, while we have to try to meet those windows of opportunity by building pieces of infrastructure that take at least a decade to get up and running and take hundreds of millions of dollars to finish. So that's one challenge. The second challenge is that we have to find a path forward where we can successfully have a vibrant economy and at the same time have a vibrant environment and enable us to walk down a pathway where both of those important aspects to our community can be met. I have to believe that if we as a society can put people on the moon and bring them back, we can explore the outer reaches of the solar system, that we surely can have faith in the science and the technology where we can have, that we don't have to be put in a position where we have to choose one over the other, where we don't have to choose industry versus environment, where we don't have to choose birthing infrastructures and over fish habitat. I believe that we can have those side by side, and as a result, if we can meet those two challenges, we collectively as a community can have a very strong and vibrant port gateway community that really will allow us to continue with the quality of life and the lifestyle that we've had over the last many years, but also add to that and have a vibrant economy and a protected environment. So thank you very much for your attention.